For a multitude of reasons, Ace is my favourite character to feature within One Piece, and I'm confident that I'm not the only person who shares in this sentiment, especially if you consider the fact that he's one of the most beloved characters in the entire series. He has no shortage of fans, and there's so much appeal to his character which is not just limited to his incredibly cool character design or his jaw-dropping abilities. In my opinion, Ace is an excellent example of a well-written One Piece character who has a clear drive and a motive, who has past trauma or issues that they need to overcome, and a well-written backstory that ultimately makes you relate with this character. So the aim of this video is to really throw some appreciation towards Portgas D Ace, and to break down and analyze all of the things that Ishida Oda did excellently with this character, and why even 12 years after his passing, Ace is beloved by so many fans including myself, and not to mention how his legacy has permanently impacted the world and story of One Piece. So without further delay, let's dive into my breakdown and analysis of Portgas D Ace. Before the video begins, only 20% of the people who actually watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. Ace makes his debut appearance within chapter 154 of the manga and in episode 91 of the anime. Ace is a tall young man with curly black hair, and despite the fact that he is not blood related to Luffy, he still looks strikingly similar to him. Because Ace was the biological son of the King of the Pirates, Goldie Roger, some of his facial expressions are similar to his father's, especially when he was younger without his mustache. Ace had several tattoos on his body, quite notably his tattoo of the Whitebeard pirate symbol on his back. Ace had referred to this symbol as his pride and joy. In addition to this, he had another tattoo on his left arm, consisting of the letters ASCE written vertically down his arm. He had crossed the S out as a tribute to his younger brother Sabo. To be honest, I remembered this being a jaw-dropping piece of foreshadowing, especially after we had learned about Ace's backstory after the Marineford arc, and the most striking and notable feature of Ace's appearance is his unforgettable orange hat, which has two blue faces, one that is frowning and one that is smiling. We know that Ace had lost his signature hat on Bonora Island while he was facing off against Blackbeard, as we don't see much of the items that make up his character design when we see him again as a prisoner in Impel Down. After he had died, his hat and his knife that he used to carry around with him were placed at his tombstone. In comparison to Luffy, Ace was more smarter, well-mannered, and generally more easy to be around, and it's for this reason that a lot of the Straw Hats question whether if Ace is really related to Luffy. There is no shortage of people within One Piece who have stated that Luffy's personality is very similar to Goldie Roger's, but we know that Ace's captain Whitebeard had stated that Ace's personality was nothing like his father's. There are a couple of traits that Ace and Luffy do have in common. The first, which is their never-ending appetite, and the second, which was their love for parties and recklessness. Ace used to be a very impulsive character, and some would say that it was because of his rash decision making which had led to him being captured, which would kickstart the chain of events that would lead up to his untimely demise. He refused to listen to reason when he had set out to hunt Blackbeard after he had killed their fellow crewmate Thatch. It was evident that Whitebeard had told Ace not to go after Blackbeard, but despite how much love and respect that he had for his captain, he ignored his warnings and decided to go out and search for the former member of the Whitebeard pirates. Being the son of the infamous King of the Pirates proved to be quite difficult for Ace to accept. He was constantly living under the shadow of his father's legacy, so much so that he had questioned his right to live, because he was born as the son of the supposed devil Goldie Roger. He used to think to himself that nobody in the world would want the son of the devil Roger to live. Understandably, Ace was quite shocked after the Whitebeard pirates had easily accepted him into their crew, despite the fact that he was the son of Roger, who was known as Whitebeard's rival. Later on, the entire Whitebeard pirates crew and Luffy with his allies would team up in order to save Ace in Marineford, further reaffirming to him that he did deserve to live and his life holds a lot of meaning and value to others. Speaking about his own life, Ace had stated that he didn't seek fame and fortune. The only question that he had wanted to be answered was whether if he should have been born. This question was stopping Ace from dying without any regrets. This is something that both Ace and Luffy had vowed to do, to die with a smile upon their face, knowing that they have accomplished everything that they had set out to do in their life. At the moment of his death, we know that Ace only had one regret, which was that he could not live long enough to see Luffy become the king of the pirates. Because more than anyone, Ace was confident that Luffy would accomplish this goal. He had that much faith in his younger brother. A lot of people question the appeal of Ace. Why is it that he is beloved by so many fans? And why is it that we fell in love with this character so quickly after his first appearance? There are a few reasons why Ace holds so much appeal to readers of One Piece. Firstly, it's because prior to his arrival, Luffy had hyped up Ace and had looked up to him so much. He had demonstrated this overwhelming show of respect for Ace, and I'm pretty certain that this had immediately drawn us to Ace's character. Imagine reading early One Piece and wondering how cool Luffy's older brother must be, especially after we hear Luffy praising him so much. Their relationship is written as an innocent and pure younger and older sibling dynamic, which Oda masterfully brings to life within his manga. Think of yourself as a younger sibling, and you look up to an older brother or sister who has been through every step that you are going through, and despite a few years of difference, you have this overwhelming, unconditional respect for them, because they are in a way paving the way for you to follow and even surpass them one day. And I feel like this sums up the relationship between Luffy and Ace, and it helps us to understand why it was so easy to fall in love with Ace. So now that we have a general idea about his character, I want to talk about the backstory of Ace, going over everything that we know about him before his first chronological appearance within the story. In chapter 550, we learn that when Ace's mother, Portgas D was 5 months pregnant with him, Ace's father, Goldie Roger, was executed. In order to protect Ace, Rouge had paid the ultimate price. She had kept him in her womb for an additional 15 months, giving birth to him a year and 3 months after Roger had died. Ace's mother too died, with the understandable complications with his birth. Ace was then looked after by the Vice Admiral of the Marines, Monkey D. Garp. He had placed the young boy into the custody of Dandan on Dawn Island. When Ace was younger, he had met a lot of people who had voiced hatred for Goldie Roger, and for any potential children that the King of the Pirates may have had. After hearing these throwaway comments, it had resulted in Ace feeling like his life holds no meaning. On one such occasion, Ace had beaten some of these individuals who were making these comments to near death. In chapter 568, we see Garp come and visit Ace. He asks Garp, would it have been better if he was never born? We know that he isn't asking this question out of sympathy, or because he wants Garp to console him. Ace really wants to know if his life holds any meaning. Is there any point in existing if the world hates you for being the son of the devil? Garp had told Ace that time will reveal to him the answer to this question. In chapter 583, we learned that Ace had met Sabo on Grey Terminal, and Sabo had initially claimed to be from there. The two of them had shared their dreams of becoming pirates one day, and together they would steal money and treasure, preparing for the day that they would set off to sail the seas. One day, when Ace was 10 years old, he had returned home to find that Garp had brought his grandson Luffy to live with Dandan. Initially, upon seeing Luffy, Ace had spat on him. Initially, Ace had wanted nothing to do with Luffy, but the young boy would not stop chasing after him, as he had wanted to be friends. For the course of 3 months, Luffy would continue to chase Ace, despite him throwing things at Luffy. In chapter 583, we see that Luffy had followed Ace all the way to Grey Terminal, where he was meeting with Sabo so that they could compare the treasures that they had stolen. Luffy had learnt about their shared dreams of becoming pirates. After this, both Ace and Sabo had tied Luffy to a tree and decided to kill him. But when a pirate called Porchemi, who was searching for Ace after he had stolen his money, encounters Luffy, he captures him, possibly trying to torture him in order to find out Ace's location. Ace and Sabo had assumed that Luffy would have given away their location, so they had moved all of their treasure to another place. But after they moved the last amount of treasure, they learned that Luffy had not revealed Ace's location, much to his shock. He then, along with Sabo, breaks into the Blue Jam Pirates' hideout in order to rescue Luffy. Together they are able to defeat Porchemi. Later, Ace would go on to question Luffy as to why he had risked his life and protected Ace rather than revealing his location to them. Heartbreakingly, Luffy had stated that Ace was the only person that he had. It was thanks to Luffy's unconditional love for Ace that he was eventually accepted into Ace and Sabo's group. The trio would go on to earn themselves a notorious reputation among the pirates on Grey Terminal. To become stronger, they would hunt down animals and fight each other. When the three of them had one day sneaked into the Goa Kingdom, they had eaten at a restaurant and had run out without paying. While running away, Ace and Luffy had noticed a man calling out to Sabo, but Sabo had ignored the individual. When they had returned to the woods, Ace and Luffy had eventually gotten Sabo to tell them the truth, as they learned that that man who was calling out to Sabo was his father, and that in actuality Sabo was the son of a noble family, but he had left that life behind. It is at this instance that the three of them had shared their dreams with each other, stating that they would go on to become pirates that would sail the seas one day, sealing this promise over a bottle of sake that they had stolen from Dandan. With their 3 cups, they had performed the Sakazuki ceremony in order to become sworn brothers. Garp had tried tried to raise Ace and Luffy to become Marines, but from the get-go they were adamant on becoming pirates. In chapter 585 we learn that Sabo's father had worked together with the Blue Jam pirates in order to forcibly take back Sabo. The pirates had ended up capturing Luffy and Ace, while Sabo was taken away. Sabo had only agreed to quietly go with his father if he had promised not to hurt Ace and Luffy. When Blue Jam had asked Ace and Luffy about the location of their treasure, Ace had reluctantly told him, but the pirates had taken the two of them to the location to ensure that they were not lying. Blue Jam went on to swear that he would take revenge upon the nobles and that Sabo was no different to the rest of his family. This remark had angered Luffy. He retaliates against Blue Jam and eventually gets brutally beaten in return. Seeing his brother be attacked, Ace unleashes his Supreme Ruler's Haki, which knocks down all of the pirates except Blue Jam. When he is about to attack Ace, he is saved by the Dandan family. Refusing to run away with them, Ace confronts Blue Jam and Dandan stays with him. Together they are able to defeat Blue Jam. In order to save Ace, Dandan had been severely burnt as they had been surrounded by flames. The young boy had searched for medical supplies in order to keep her alive. While she is recovering, she questions Ace as to why he did not run away from Blue Jam. Ace tells her that it's because he had wanted to keep Luffy safe, and this demonstrates how far Ace's character has come since he was first introduced to Luffy to this very moment. He is truly acting like an older brother at this point. Before this, he really had nothing to lose and he had no attachment to the world. He was constantly being criticized for being the son of the worst criminal in existence. But after Luffy and Sabo had come into his life, he had two brothers that he had wanted to live for and to protect. When Ace and Luffy learned that Sabo has escaped and gone out to sea on his own, they witnessed Sabo's ship be blown to pieces by a world noble. It is at this moment that Ace decides to avenge the death of Sabo, only for Dandan to stop him. She ties him up as she tells Ace that he has no choice but to wait until he is older to avenge his death. The next morning, after Ace calms down, he reads a letter that was left behind by Sabo, explaining why he had set sail for the sea earlier than they had promised. He had wrote about his desire to once again meet with his brothers, and he had told Ace to look after Luffy in the meantime. Ace had then gone to the coastline where he had seen that Luffy was crying. In response to Sabo's death, Luffy had promised to get stronger, while at the same time begging for Ace not to also die. Heart-wrenchingly, Ace had promised that he wasn't going anywhere. Sabo had ended up dying before he could find his freedom, so it is for this reason that both Ace and Luffy need to live their lives without regret, and they had decided to set sail as pirates when they turned 17. And this motif of living without regret carries on with Ace's character. For the next 7 years, the two boys had continued to grow stronger, as they had started to accept a life without their brother Sabo. Evidently, Sabo was the reason why Ace had decided to become stronger, so that he has the strength to protect the people that he cares about. And contrastingly, this was similar to how Ace's death was the catalyst for Luffy to train for 2 whole years, so that he could protect his crew and face the threats of the new world, all so that he would never have to endure the painful loss that comes with losing a loved one like Ace. And at the age of 17, Ace had started his journey as a pirate. In One Piece Novel A, we learned that less than a year after Ace had set sail, he ended up being shipwrecked on the East Blue Island Sixes. It is here that he would have unknowingly eaten a fruit that ended up being the Meramera no Mi. Ace and his crew, the Spade Pirates, would eventually journey on into the new world, where they would visit Fishman Island, and in chapter 589, we see that Ace had hunted down Shanks after he had arrived in the new world. He had found Shanks and the Red-Haired Pirates on a winter island. He reveals that he is grateful for Shanks having saved his younger brother, and that Luffy doesn't stop talking about him, and it is for this reason that he had wanted to personally meet Shanks. It is here that he had declared his intention to grow his reputation by bringing down the figureheads of the world. It is here that he questions Shanks about the scars that Blackbeard had given him before he departs from the island. During the most recent story arc, the Wano arc, we learned that Ace, 4 years prior to the current timeline, had visited Wano country. He had befriended the villagers and had helped them to acquire food and water, and he had met a young girl called Tama and formed a friendship with her. While on Wano, he had learned to weave a kasa, which is a type of straw hat. Tama had desired to go out to sea with Ace, but he had told her that she was far too young at the time. While he was in Wano, Ace and his crew had gone to Onigashima in order to kill Kaido and to rescue all of the abducted children. However, Kaido at the time was away on an expedition, so in his absence they had decided to destroy Kaido's castle. And this is where Ace would eventually meet Yamato, and they would decide to fight each other out of boredom. During the battle, Yamato had broken the dragon statue at the island's entrance in order to prove how much he hates her father. After this, Ace and Yamato had sat and drank together, while he had told her stories about Luffy and his dream. Before he leaves, Yamato hands to Ace a Weaver card. In chapter 552, we learn about how Ace had joined the Whitebeard pirates. After meeting with Shanks, he had encountered Jinbei, who had battled Ace in order to prevent him from looking for Whitebeard. After fighting for 5 days, their battle ends in a draw, as the two of them end up collapsing out of exhaustion. After his battle with Jinbei, Whitebeard had approached Ace, Ace. After learning that he had wanted to take his head, Whitebeard states that he will be more than enough to take out Ace and his crew. Ace protects his crew with a wall of flames as he challenges Whitebeard on his own. After their brief battle, Whitebeard is surprised that Ace still has the strength to stand, and it would be a waste to kill him. He tells Ace that if he wants to cause havoc upon the seas, then he should do it under his name, as he outstretches his hand to him, offering for him to become his son. Ace immediately rejects the proposal. After Ace was taken aboard Whitebeard's ship, he realizes that they have let him on board without restraining him or putting chains on him. He takes advantage of the trust that the Whitebeard pirates have placed in him, as on more than one occasion he attempts to assassinate Whitebeard, but each time he fails miserably. He had done this almost every day until his 100th attempt. One day, Ace had questioned Marco as to why everybody calls Whitebeard pups. He tells him that this is because Whitebeard treats them all like his sons. Everybody who's a member of the Whitebeard pirate is a stray, so it makes them feel like a part of a family. Whether if it's real or not, it gives them comfort to have a father like Whitebeard. Eventually, Ace would grow fond of the Whitebeard pirates and take the mark of Whitebeard onto his back. He would go on to take the post of the vacant lead of Division 2 within the Whitebeard pirates. One day while Ace was speaking with Whitebeard, he tells Ace that he is surprised that he is Roger's son because he doesn't act like his father. When Ace states that wasn't Roger his enemy, why isn't he telling the son of his rival to get lost? Whitebeard states that he doesn't care who Ace's father was. He reassures him by stating that everybody is a child of the sea. In chapter 999, we see Ace speaking with Whitebeard and the other crewmates, as he talks to them about going to war with Kaido so that they can free the people of Wano and to avenge the death of Oden. But Whitebeard refuses to entertain this request, as he questions Ace what makes him think that he can defeat Kaido, the man that had killed Oden. If Whitebeard were to face off against Kaido at that time, a war between the two emperors would result in countless numbers of casualties. At the end of this exchange, Ace had resided in the fact that he just needs to get stronger so that he can keep the heavy promise that he is carrying on his shoulders. Not too long after this, we learned that Blackbeard had murdered his fellow crewmate Thatch in order to obtain the Yami Yami no Mi. Ace had been his commander and he had felt responsible for Blackbeard's actions. We know that the Whitebeard pirates live by a code that they must avenge the wrongful death of any crewmate. Typically, Ace would have been told to go after Blackbeard, but Whitebeard was reluctant to let Ace go, as he states that Blackbeard's new powers may be too much for Ace to handle. Despite these warnings, Ace had insisted on going after Blackbeard. His motive was that his fellow crewmate Thatch could not rest in peace until his murderer was brought to justice, and that Blackbeard could no longer get away with dishonoring Whitebeard after how he had betrayed his trust. It is only after Whitebeard sees how dedicated Ace is to him that he allows him to go after Teach, and so began Ace's journey to find and kill Blackbeard. And this takes us to his first chronological appearance within the series. In chapter 154, Ace had visited Drum Island and had left behind a message for Luffy, telling him to visit him in 10 days in the city of Nanohana in Arabasta. Ace was seen to be sleeping at the Spice Bean restaurant after he had finished his meal, but he was then spotted by Smoker, who had tried to arrest him. But before the two of them get a chance to fight, they are sent hurtling into the air with Luffy's sudden arrival. The two of them escape from the restaurant with Smoker chasing after them, and when Ace catches up with Luffy, he saves him from being arrested. In chapter 159, after Ace loses the Marines that were chasing after him, he finally catches up with Luffy on the Going Merry, where he offers to Luffy to join the Whitebeard pirates, to which Luffy refuses. After he had left Luffy a piece of his viewer card, which would guide the two of them to each other in the future, Ace ended up sailing away. In chapter 233, we see Ace jump onto Buggy's ship. He eats their food in exchange for telling them Luffy's location. In chapter 440, we see that Ace was finally able to find Blackbeard and his crew on Bonora Island. Teach had offered Ace to join his crew and to help him become the Pirate King, and when Blackbeard states that he wants to go to Water 7 and to capture Luffy, this ends up angering Ace, as he refuses his offer, revealing that he is Luffy's older brother. When their talks break down, Ace begins his battle with Blackbeard and his crew. During this battle, we get to see Blackbeard utilize the powers of the Yami Yami no Mi. Blackbeard uses the powers of his darkness to pull Ace towards him, as he nullifies Ace's Mera Mera no Mi, thus allowing Teach to punch Ace. When Ace was pulled in again by Blackbeard's darkness, he was able to successfully hit Blackbeard, breaking his neck. The two of them continue to clash back and forth, but Blackbeard begins to overwhelm Ace, as he for the final time offers him to join his crew, but Ace refuses once more. He brings out a massive fireball, which collides with Blackbeard's darkness. At the end of this final clash, we learn that Ace was defeated by Blackbeard, and he was brought to the world government, and he was imprisoned in the lowest level of Impel Down. He was held as a prisoner until the date of his public execution at Marine Ford. While imprisoned, Ace is visited by Garp, as Ace states that he wants to be killed now, but Garp tells him that there is nothing that either of them can do to stop the upcoming war between the Whitebeard pirates and the Marines. Garp states that he had wanted wanted Luffy and Ace to join the Marines, but instead they had chosen the life of pirates. He tells Ace that he had spoken to Luffy about his father, and that he was surprised to learn that he had even had one. But Ace tells Garp that neither of them care about their biological fathers, and that they'd rather not talk about it. And the fact that they have the blood of world-class criminals flowing through their bodies, there is no way that they would have been accepted into the Marines. But he does state that he owes a great deal of debt to his name Portgas, which he had inherited from his mother. Ace wants to forget about his father because he doesn't owe him anything, and he doesn't even remember him. Because after all, the only person that Ace considers to be his father is Whitebeard. On the same level of Ace, Jinbei was also being held prisoner at the time. He had watched while Jinbei was being beaten, as he was refusing to listen to the guards. We learned that Jinbei desires to end the upcoming war between the Whitebeard pirates and the Marines. He had told Ace about how Whitebeard had protected his homeland of Fishman Island from pirates. Later on, Boa Hancock would also visit Ace and inform him that Luffy was in Impel Down trying to save him. Understandably, Ace was in disbelief after hearing this news. It was only after Luffy had begun his battle against Magellan that Ace had started to believe Hancock's words. When he had questioned the guards as to what was going on, he got no answer. But hours later, Jinbei had told Ace that Hancock may have been lying to him. But Ace responds by stating that breaking into Impel Down is exactly the sort of thing that Luffy would do. In chapter 590, Jinbei recalls a memory of Ace while they were in Impel Down together. Ace had told Jinbei that he was glad that Luffy was not the same old crybaby like before. In the past, Luffy struggled to do anything but follow him around. But now that Luffy has a crew of his own that he can depend on, Ace is confident that it'll be okay no matter what happens. This is a significant moment. When Ace had met Luffy in Arabasta, it was like the end of an era. He no longer had to worry about the safety of Luffy, because he had seen that Luffy had formed a very competent crew that could look after him, and he was only able to achieve this because of the growth that he had undergone. Ace is right, Luffy is not that same child. He respects Ace, but he has a desire of his own. He wants to become the king of the pirates, and it is for this reason that he rejects Ace's offer of joining the Whitebeard pirates so early on in the series. This rejection was a form of reassurance for Ace, and this is why he says that Luffy will be okay no matter what happens. He knows that together with his crew, Luffy will be able to achieve his dream. In chapter 577, we learned that Ace had also asked Jinbei to look after Luffy if anything were to happen to him. In chapter 539, Magellan had appeared to transport Ace to Marineford for his execution. When they reach level 1 of Impel Down, Ace hears a report that Luffy is being subdued with sleeping gas at the lowest level, level 6. When he tries to run back to the lift to help his brother, Magellan subdues him. He was then placed onto a marine ship, which was headed for the execution platform at Marineford. He was brought down to his knees at the execution platform while the Marines had waited for the arrival of Whitebeard. Admiral Sengoku had questioned Ace as to who his father was, but Ace was adamant that his true father was Whitebeard. But it is here that Sengoku reveals to the world that Ace's biological father is none other than Goldie Roger, and that his mother Portgas D had kept Ace safe throughout her pregnancy. She had used a trick that costed her life. In the end, the Marines were fooled. She hid her child in her womb for 20 months in order to save Ace. She had gone through so much effort to ensure that he was given life that it had resulted in her own death. Sengoku states that Whitebeard had taken the son of his former rival in so that he could raise Ace to become the next pirate king. But Ace disagrees with this remark, as he states that he had joined them in order to help Whitebeard to become the king of the pirates. Sengoku states that the only reason why they didn't target Ace prior to this was because he was being protected by Whitebeard, but it was their #1 agenda to stop Ace, because if he had the time to develop his abilities, he would eventually lead a new generation of pirates who would rain terror upon the world. So it is for this reason that Sengoku declares that his execution today is necessary, even if it means that they have to go on a all-out war with Whitebeard. Eventually, the Whitebeard pirates arrive, much to Ace's shock. As Ace calls out to Whitebeard, he questions his crew as to why they had come to save him, because after all, it was his fault that he went after Blackbeard and got captured. However, Whitebeard corrects him, as he states that it was him who had ordered Ace to go after Blackbeard. Ace is powerless to do nothing but watch his crewmates rush into battle. Little Oz Jr. had attempted to reach out for Ace, but he was severely injured by Bartholomew Kuma. While the battle continues, Ace watches as Garp refuses to enter the battle. He expresses his disappointment about the path that his adopted grandson has taken in life. But it is here when Ace notices that a battleship is falling out of the sky, and on board are Luffy and the other prisoners of Impel Down. As they plummet down into Marineford, joining the battle, Ace and Luffy call out to each other as he rushes to the execution platform. But Ace, taking up the role of a responsible older brother, tells his brother not to interfere. He distances himself from Luffy in order to protect him, but Luffy states that he doesn't care and he'll do anything in order to rescue his brother. He hears as his crewmates shout out support for Ace, Ace, as they say that they won't let anybody get away with hurting him, and no matter what happens they're going to save him. The conflicted Ace, who has been refusing their help this entire time, finally accepts what is going on, as he states that he doesn't care what the future holds for him. He is reaching out to the hand that is offering help to him, while at the same time accepting the blade that's going to execute him. He won't fight against whatever destiny has in store for him, as he apologizes to all of the people who are currently fighting for his sake, with Whitebeard having joined the battle and the three admirals also appearing to construct a wall to keep the Whitebeard pirates away from Ace. The Marines are left with no choice but to proceed with Ace's execution ahead of schedule. Oz Jr. regains consciousness and attempts to rescue Ace once more, while Luffy is sent hurtling over the wall by a water blast as he confronts the three vice admirals. The executioners begin to move their swords, as it appears as though Ace is going to be killed, but suddenly they are taken out by crocodile sandblasts. Ace watches in disbelief as Oz Jr. helps the Whitebeard pirates to cross through the wall. With the battle continuing, Marco attempts to rescue Ace but is stopped by Garp. Ace begins to feel incredible amounts of gratitude as he starts to cry, as he sees all of the pirates who are putting their lives on the line in order to save his. Growing up, he had thought that his life was worthless, but after seeing the countless number of people who are risking it all in order to save him, he begins to realize that his life does hold value and meaning. He watches as Luffy unleashes a cry after he receives a dose of hormones from Ivankov. When the executioners return to their feet and they raise their blades in order to execute Ace again, Luffy knocks them out with the Supreme Ruler's Haki. Ace, like all of us, is shocked to see Luffy demonstrate Haki, as Inazuma creates a ramp for Luffy to run up to the execution platform, but he is then confronted by Garp, who was swiftly taken out as Luffy strikes him with a single punch, as it appears as though Garp's attachment to both Luffy and Ace had led to him taking the hit and allowing Luffy to help Ace. Sengoku activates his Devil Fruit, while Kizaru at the same time destroys the key that Luffy was holding. Mr. 3 protects Ace with a wax barrier, as Luffy takes on the full force of Sengoku's punch. Sengoku's attack destroys the execution platform. Mr. 3 then creates a new key made out of wax in order to unlock Ace's handcuffs, as Luffy was successfully able to free Ace, as he now joins the battle against the Marines with his fellow crewmates. Ace and Luffy work together in order to fight off several different Marines. While Ace uses his fire powers against the Vice Admiral Aokiji, he is shocked to hear when Whitebeard tells his crew to escape while he stays behind on Marineford. He states that these are his final orders as their captain. He tells them to survive and to return to the new world. Ace is stunned to hear Whitebeard's final words. He approaches him as he falls to his knees and bows down to him. Whitebeard asks Ace if he was happy that he was his father, to which Ace wholeheartedly says yes. Ace and Luffy begin to escape with Jinbei, but they are then confronted by Akainu. He states that they free Ace and then decide to run away, as he describes the Whitebeard pirates as a pack of cowards. He goes on to say that it comes as no surprise considering who their leader is, as he calls Whitebeard a loser from a bygone era. This remark activates that impulsive side of Ace, as he stops in his tracks in order to confront Akainu, telling him to take back that remark, take back that he had called Whitebeard a loser. His fellow crewmates tell Ace not to engage with Akainu and to keep running, but he refuses. He's not going to let the Vice Admiral speak bad about his father. He goes on to say that Ace's real father, Roger, had stood in his way, and it is for this reason that Whitebeard had become an eternal loser, an individual who could never become king. He ridicules Ace and the others for calling him Pops and showing love to him, as they put on this farce like they're one big happy family. He goes on to say that despite the fact that Whitebeard had ruled the sea for decades, he was still unable to become the king of the pirates. He had never achieved his dream. He states that Whitebeard had lived a failed life. The Whitebeard pirates are aware that Akainu is trying to provoke Ace, but Ace's emotional response proves the attachment that he has with this new family. Whitebeard had given Ace something invaluable. He had given him a place that he could call home. He states that the Vice Admiral knows nothing about his greatness. He goes on to exclaim that Whitebeard will die a loser. It is a fitting end for a leader of a band of human trash. But Ace responds by stating that Whitebeard is the greatest pirate in the world, and he had created this age. He goes on to exclaim that the name of this era is Whitebeard. Ace attempts to attack Akainu, but his magma overwhelms him. He then sets his sights on Luffy, as he states that he's going to end the lives of Roger's son, as well as the son of Dragon the Revolutionary. He affirms that Ace and Luffy will not get past him. As he is about to ambush Luffy, Ace steps in front of him, as we see that Akainu's fist covered in magma pierces through Ace's torso, completely burning him from the inside. Ace's viewer card also falls to the ground as it begins to burn away. Akainu, realizing that Ace is still alive, is about to attack him for a second second time, but he is stopped by Jinbei. Ace falls into Luffy's arms as he apologizes to him. He apologizes that Luffy didn't get to save him, continuously telling him that he's sorry. Despite them calling out for medical help, Ace is aware that he's dying now. He tells Luffy to listen to him, as Luffy frantically questions whether if Ace is going to die. He reminds Ace of the promise that he had made to him when they were younger, when Ace had promised that he wasn't going to die and that he was going to live his life without any regrets. Ace recalls back to the terrible things that he used to hear about the offspring of Gold Roger, when people used to say that if Gold Roger ever were to have a child, then it would be better to cut that child's head off. Ace tells Luffy that nobody had wanted him. He tells Luffy that if he ever sees Dan Dan again, then to please give her regards on his behalf. In his final moments, Ace becomes very nostalgic. He appears to be smiling and content, but he states that despite everything that's happened in his life, there is just one regret that he has, that he wasn't able to see Luffy's dream through to the end. But he tells Luffy that he is confident that he can do it. If anyone's going to become the king of the pirates, then it's going to be his little brother. He states that what he really wanted wasn't fame. All he wanted to know was whether if he should have been born. His final words he directs towards Whitebeard and his fellow crewmates and to Luffy. He states that he's always been such a hopeless person. He was referred to as a demon spawn, the son of the devil. But despite all of this, he was truly loved by all of those people who had risked their lives to come and save him. In his final words, he thanks everybody for loving him, as Ace collapses to the ground in a pool of his own blood. One thing to note is that before Ace dies, he stops himself from frowning, as he fulfills his desire with dying with a smile on his face. I get choked up every time I speak about this moment in One Piece, and I'm sure that a lot of you do too. Ace's life was truly tragic, but through his character we learn about the theme of love and how Oda writes this into his story. How Ace was able to learn about the value of his life through the love that he had experienced. How he was able to ignore the remarks about the blood that he had inherited from his father. In the end, Ace was a much loved older brother, fellow crewmate, and most importantly, he was a precious son to Whitebeard. Despite him questioning whether if he should have ever been born, there is one person who certainly believes that Ace should have been born, and that's his mother, and through her sacrifice, she had given birth to her son who she had named Gold D Ace. He was so precious to her that she was willing to give her life for him. Ace didn't grow up under the best of circumstances, but despite this, he had found a place that he could call home, and he was surrounded by people who loved him. And this is evident through how Ace was treated after his death. Nobody was more heartbroken about his death than Luffy. He had completely fallen into a state of shock. It was thanks to Shanks that both Whitebeard and Ace's bodies were retrieved. The two of them were buried alongside each other, on an island near to where Whitebeard was born in the New World. In chapter 590, Shanks states that he was surprised by Ace's sacrifice, and he had stated that this action was very similar to something that his father Roger would have done. After the Marineford arc, the world had learned about Ace's true identity as the son of Gold Roger, and because of this, he had been catapulted into legendary status. When Luffy had awoken from his coma, he was utterly in despair because of Ace's death. At this point, he would have probably given up on his dream to become the king of the pirates if it wasn't for Jinbei. He had reminded Luffy of not what he has lost, but rather what he still has, which are his valuable crewmates. They are still depending on him to return to them. Like I said before, Ace's death was a catalyst for Luffy to become stronger, and he had trained for 2 years prior to heading out for the New World. Later on in the story, we do learn that Sabo had survived, but he had lost his memories up until the point where he had learnt about Ace's death. This shocking news had resulted in Sabo falling into a coma for 3 days, but when he had regained consciousness, he had remembered all of his memories, and it is for this reason that he starts to become very protective towards Luffy, as he promises to come to his aid whenever he needs him, and he would forget his duties within the Revolutionary Army if he feels as though Luffy was ever going to be in danger. Ace's will would be inherited by Sabo, through Sabo eating the Mero Mero no Mi, and rightfully so, he had gained his brother's Devil Fruit abilities, and had inherited his signature ability Hiken, and this pretty much brings us to an end to the story of Portgas D. Ace. It is difficult to summarize or sum up a character who shined as bright as Ace did. After his passing, the world just wasn't quite the same. His death left a void upon the story of One Piece that frankly can be filled by no other. So when Ace questions if he deserves to live, it pulls on my heartstrings. A character who is evidently loved by so many, and he still wonders if his life held any meaning, and if people loved him for who he was and not for any other reason. Ace wanted to know something that we all do to some extent, which is, are we truly loved by the people people around us? Are they glad that we exist alongside them without being a burden to them or troubling them? Ultimately, does our life hold any meaning at all? If the people around us cannot find meaning with our existence, then is it worth even living? We love characters like Ace for multiple reasons. They can be cool because of their incredible design and mesmerizing abilities, but on a deeper level, we remember and cherish certain fictional characters because we find a side of their character that we can really relate to. I'd be lying if I said that I don't relate to Ace's struggle to find acceptance and love within the world, and I do believe that I'm not alone in saying this. Talking about Luffy's older brother, who in the end gave his life to protect his sibling, and he died feeling loved thanks to the show of compassion and support from not only Luffy, but the Whitebeard pirates, and everybody who challenged the enemy at Marineford that day. It was thanks to this overwhelming display of love that Ace was finally able to die with a smile on his face. Before I continue to get more choked up and collapse into a puddle of my own tears, I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you think about the death of Ace and the impact that it had on One Piece and all of its fandom? I would love to know where all of you were when you first learned about Ace dying. I'll certainly never forget when I'd read the chapter in February of 2010 on my lunch break at school, and literally going about the rest of the day like one of my own family members had passed away. But yeah, please continue the discussion in the comments. I can't wait to read all of your thoughts, and thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.